and we are ride or die.
That was insane.
I know.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to PFLAG Celebrates the Prom on Netflix. My name is Liz Owen. I'm the Director of Communications here at PFLAG National. And for those who don't know PFLAG, we are the first and largest organization for parents, families, and allies of the LGBTQ+ community. I'm coming to you live from our Los Angeles headquarters, aka my living room. And I am thrilled to welcome you to this celebration of Netflix's fantastic new film, The Prom. Now, if you haven't yet had a chance to tune in since it premiered last night, or even if you're like me and on your third repeat viewing, let's take a look at what we at PFLAG are all so excited about.
Hello, interweb. My name is Emma Nolan, and I'm 17. You might have heard about the prom in Indiana.
I just want to go to prom like any other kid.
All opposed.
I know we all have stories to tell, and here's mine.
Oh my gosh, check this out. It's all over Twitter. She wanted to take her girlfriend to the high school prom. And the PTA went apeshit and they canceled it.
We have got to go down there.
Yes.
And raise holy hell.
We will be the biggest thing to happen in Indiana since whatever's happened in Indiana.
We have come to this community on behalf of a young girl.
I just wanna dance with you.
I'm sorry, who are you people?
We are from Broadway.
I just wanna dance with you.
We're not monsters. We're cultural disruptors.
Your beliefs are not our beliefs. You don't know this town.
I thought that when my parents rejected me, that I would never feel any worse. I've never felt so alone in my life.
But you're not alone. And you do have friends.
Where are they?
Okay, people, this is the part where we roll up our sleeves and we put on a prom with our own bare hands.
I just don't understand it.
Well, I think it's brave.
Let's get this party started!
It's time to build a prom for everyone. Show them all it can be done if music blares and no one cares who you're. Unruly heart loves building now.
I'm gonna take a stand for all the people out there who love someone in a way the world just doesn't understand.
Okay, I admit that got to me.
It's time to It's time to dance.
It's so good. Okay, well, I'm afraid there is no way to keep this entirely spoiler-free. So there is a beautiful lesbian teen couple at the heart of this story, and we are so here for the love and the visibility. Let's take a quick look.
That was insane.
I know.
No, I'm really freaking out.
Don't freak out. We have a plan, remember? We're gonna get dressed up and go to prom and be together in public. Not hide anymore.
Are you sure about this?
There's only one thing I'm sure about.
I love it. Everyone, please welcome Emma and Alyssa, Joe Ellen Pellman, and Ariana DeBose. Welcome.
Hi PFLAG. Hi, Liz. What's up?
It's so good to have you here. I'm so excited, and we're already getting so much love for you. So I want to hear from the two of you about this couple. So this movie is such a perfect celebration of inclusion and showing up for queer kids, which PFLAG is all about. What do you hope those kids and their families might take away from this movie? Ariana, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think number one, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in tonight. This is so amazing to be here with all of you. I think, my journey with Alyssa and exploring these characters of Alyssa and Mrs. Green with Carrie, like we discovered that yes, these conversations that young people are desperately trying to have with their parents are so challenging, right? The dynamics of, child and parent can feel like they're getting in the way of getting to the heart of of the two knowing each other, if that makes sense. So I think I just want people to realize that no matter how you identify or no matter what is going on in the world, that these conversations are real and valid, good and necessary, and they're bumpy, but the happy ending is possible. And meeting each other halfway. So our parents meeting our kids halfway and young people meeting their parents halfway as well. It's so rewarding. And you get to these beautiful moments like you see in our film, where acceptance is found and you do cry and you laugh and you exude joy, and it's worth everything to find those moments. So I guess what I'm saying is those moments are worth everything. So don't give up on them.
That's so true. It's so true. And Joellen, I would love to hear from you as well.
Oh, I love everything that you said, Ari. And I think like the only thing that I would add to that is like, for me, and for the character of Emma, what's so important in this film is this theme of found family, and that, your support can come from people who might not even be related to you, and they can still love you just like family. And like, that's really how Emma is able to find the courage to speak her truth in an authentic way, is because she has the support of this Broadway troupe of actors, of Alyssa, and then even by the end of the film of Mrs. Green. And that, if there's one thing that I want, young audiences to take away from this, is that their found family is out there too. And that there is this wonderful community out there who cannot wait to love them and support them. So just don't ever stop looking, because your found family is out there.
I love that. And thank you for saying that, because, we work to reconcile families, but family takes a lot of different form. And, Emma's own parents, again, we're not going to be spoiler free tonight, folks, but we learn early on that, Emma didn't get the affirmation and support she wanted from her parents, but she has a supportive grandmother, and she does start to build this found family. And it's critical that chosen and found family. So we have another question for you, but it's not from me this time. Let's hear from Annie, who's a PFLAG supporter in the Midwest.
Emma is a great role model, remaining true to herself and setting painful boundaries with Alyssa. How do you hope the film might empower LGBT youth to set boundaries for themselves?
Oh, that is such a good question. Oh my gosh. Wow. I think that, you bring up such a good point about boundaries in relationships. And one of the things that I so admire about Emma is that she knows how she wants to be treated, how she deserves to be treated. And when she does not feel that she is being treated the way she should, she's not afraid to say, I can't do this, and I'm going to step away and do what's best for myself. Because at the end of the day, she cannot overextend herself, or she can't change Alyssa, and she just has to be true to herself, and she has to allow Alyssa the freedom to go on her journey. And so sometimes it means like setting a boundary and saying, I can't be there
you know, I can't do this right now, but maybe in the future. But she really, I think it's kind of brave, and it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I had that sense of, you know, boundaries, especially as a teenager. And she really knows when to do what's best for her. And I mean, I think that's really admirable.
Yeah. So true. How about you, Ariana? Thoughts on that one?
Wow. I mean, boundaries are a concept that, I mean, even for myself, I didn't get good at it until my adulthood. I think young people, at least in the manifestation of Alyssa, right? You have a girl who is trying to please so many people in her life, trying to not let anybody down, her parents, trying to not let her friends or her teachers down. And essentially, you're looking at a girl who doesn't have any boundaries, right? So I think she's a really good example of like, oh, maybe if there were some boundaries in place, maybe she wouldn't have felt so overwhelmed, right? I think, you know, it's a tough skill, what you're talking about. That was a great question, right? It's an ongoing journey to discover what your boundaries are. But I think young people, then I will be quiet and stop waxing poetic. But I do think young people, when we're on the journey of figuring it all out, we do get intuitions that we don't really know what we're feeling, but we're overwhelmed and we're like, this isn't right, and we act out in different ways sometimes. That's actually, to me, what I learned while in my adolescence was the moment that I needed a boundary and I didn't have one. If that makes sense.
It does.
So now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, when I feel that way, that's when I know I need to tap in. So as much as that's not really a commentary or an answer to the question, my observation of that lived experience would be that.
I love it. I'll take it. Thank you both so much for taking that question. And you're not going away because we have more questions coming for you from fans who are watching. We love all the comments that are coming in live. So whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, be sure to put your questions in the chat. We're going to take a few of those later on tonight. So every character in this movie takes their own unique path, and we're going to hear about that now from the Prom's conservative PTA leader, Mrs. Green, the always wonderful Kerry Washington.
I think every parent knows what it feels like to think that you know what's best for your child, right? Like that's just sort of wired into the job when you're a parent. And I think part of what I try to do as a mom is to really remind myself that my job is not to turn my kids into who I think they're supposed to be. My job is to love them for exactly who they are, even when it's scary, even when who they are is outside of the framework of my own understanding. And I think that's what we get to watch Mrs. Green do in the film, is we get to watch her sort of grapple with her confusion and her fear, and to show up anyway and to say, you know, I don't completely understand it, and I don't know what this ride is going to be, but I want to listen to you and love you unconditionally. Like just remembering that the unconditional love is the most important gift that we can give a kid.
Well, we are absolutely all about unconditional love here at PFLAG. Thank you so much, Kerry. So our next guest has built a name of his own as an advocate for teachers, for inclusion, and the arts. And he most recently worked as a middle school drama and humanities teacher before joining his husband. How much do we love hearing those words, by the way? His husband on the presidential campaign trail. In his terrific memoir, I Have Something to Tell You, he shares his story of growing up gay in a small Midwestern town, and he now lives in South Bend, Indiana, with his husband and their 2 rescue dogs. Everybody, please welcome our special guest, Chasten Buttigieg.
Hey in there. Thanks for having me. It's so nice to see you.
Oh, it's so great to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
You got it.
So in this, we're going to dive right in. So in this movie, Emma's character gives us an idea of what it's like growing up gay in a small Midwestern town. How did her story resonate with you?
It was very powerful. I saw this show twice on Broadway, and I went into the show expecting to have a really good time. I did not realize how much the show was just going to punch me in the stomach, right in the feels. I never got to go to prom because I never got to be my authentic self in high school. And that really hurt, seeing that on stage, especially when I'm going to try not to spoil it, like you said, but when other students rob her of that experience, when other students get in the way of her being her authentic self. And that feeling of being seen on stage, a character that I saw my own self in, navigating high school, feeling like I couldn't be myself, feeling like I couldn't come out around my family, my church, my community, any social group that I was in. And so I think this story is really important, for the young Chastens or Emmas out there who want to see that struggle and that pain, but also those victories and that process on the screen and on the stage. So like I said, did not anticipate the movie hit me in the feels as much as it did, but it was really personal.
Yeah, and I love that we get to see stories like that, so folks can see what that journey is like, see what that experience is. Now, you also have this additional lens of working as a teacher in a small town, and for a lot of queer kids, and a lot of queer kids, for all kids, you were a drama teacher and theater, musical theater. I mean, that was a refuge for me. I was not a queer kid, but I was all in with my theater teacher. That was my refuge. So what was your experience as a teacher, maybe even specifically as a drama teacher, in terms of creating community and an inclusive or safe space for youth?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I first have to throw it out to Mrs. Bach. My high school theater teacher saved my life. That was my refuge. That was my safe space. I used to take my lunch into the theater and sort of hide in the theater because I never really knew where I fit, and I never really felt alive or seen or understood or really loved and appreciated by a teacher unless I was in Mrs. Bach's classroom or in her theater. And so becoming a theater teacher, she was really the impetus for that career, that inspiration and the love that I received from her. And when I became a teacher, it was never about the content. It was never about being the best English teacher or the best social studies teacher or even drama teacher. It was just being that person in the room. It was being the person that students could look up to, where they felt understood and seen and they felt safe. That was the most important thing to me, that students could come to me and they could come to my classroom and feel safe and loved and appreciated. Because I remember what it felt like to go through high school, to walk through those hallways, or to sit in the church, or to be active in 4-H or the bowling team or all the other things that I was doing, and never feel like I was doing any of those things as Chasten, that I was always pretending to be somebody else. So as a teacher, I just wanted to be that person in the room where other kids just felt safe. And I think that is so important for folks who are watching and wondering how they can be, a better teacher or a better ally or a friend, is make sure you are being that person. Especially teachers and families, you have to look at the person that you love and appreciate, or the person that you want to know, that you are a safe space, and tell them. That's the thing. Allyship is an action word, right? And so it means a lot when teachers say, I am here for you. If there's anything you want to talk about, I am here for you. This is an inclusive space. This is an LGBTQIA+ affirming space. You are fine just as you are in this space. And I think we need more teachers like that. And I hope that I'm just a little beacon of that coming out of Indiana, because I know Indiana doesn't get the best rap in the movie, but there are great, lovely, inclusive teachers in Indiana as well.
It's absolutely true. And I'm really glad that you said that. And later on in the broadcast, we're going to be meeting some PFLAGers who are doing the work in Indiana and Omaha, and, to make sure that they know there are people like you, like them, who are showing up for them. And you're right. Ally is not an identity. Ally is an action word. And it's a way that we have to take action. And I think as an ally organization, we emphasize that all the time, that ally is not the centered identity, right? Ally is the person who shows up to center everybody else who needs them.
Absolutely.
So right now we have a lot of youth. Everybody's in lockdown. I'm in LA. We're going through it everywhere, but there are a lot of queer youth in particular, some with families who are not affirming right now. And, of course, this summer and throughout the year, we couldn't gather for in-person events, not in-person pride events, which I know you and your husband have attended in the past.
Yeah.
There you are. And I'm guessing might be a Pride event, but I'm pretending. Yeah. So
that was Austin Pride, Austin, Texas.
See, and PFLAGers, that's our jam, showing up for people at Pride and all year, but that's, the place where most people show up. So what messages might you have for kids who'll be watching this movie and might not be with affirming family, and might not be able to be with their chosen family, right, who affirm them right now, who might be missing that community connection?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because it is so easy to tell people, just be yourself, right? Just be your authentic self. And earlier in the broadcast, we were talking about setting boundaries. And typically what I would tell a student is, one, never have a conversation or go into a conversation where you are going to be unsafe. Never put yourself in harm's way or in danger. There are many kids in this country who are at risk of being kicked out of their homes and losing their homes if they demand that their parents or loved ones treat them as an equal human being. So my first bit of advice would be that don't put yourself in danger. Now, when we're setting boundaries, we can disagree about so many things in life, right? We can disagree about ice cream flavors. We can disagree about pizza toppings or the best movie, but we will not disagree about people's humanity. That's where the debate ends. Is when someone debates your worthiness or your humanity. So you have to know, if you're sitting at home and you're maybe watching the prom under your blankets. I feel like if young Chasten were watching this, he'd wait for everyone to go to bed and to watch it under the covers. Just know that this community is here for you. That's why we're here tonight, sharing in community. And just know that there are millions of people in this country who love you for just who you are. And sometimes finding that chosen family, finding those allies, takes time. And it also takes time, as we see with Alyssa's family in the video, it takes time for family to come around or learn, because people are afraid of things that they don't know. They're afraid of things that are new and scary to them. So I remember when I came out, nobody knew what it meant to be gay. So of course they sort of rejected it and pushed it away because they didn't know what it meant. So if you're at home and you're scared or you're, lonely because you feel like you don't have community, PFLAG can help with that. And there are multiple other organizations around the country that want to accept you, and many of them doing it virtually right now. And so you might have to do a little homework. Nobody loves more homework in lockdown, but just trust that there are spaces for you that can't wait to accept you and affirm you for who you are. And I will always have your back, I promise.
I love that. The movie got you in the fields and you got me. So you've now gotten your revenge. Good job. So would you be willing to take a question? We're getting tons of questions. Sure. Would you be willing to take a question from a viewer? So I think we have one. We have a comment thanking you for being you and for speaking out on behalf of everybody. And I echo that as well. Thank you so much for that. And thanks to Chasten. Can't imagine how many kids you've saved with your celebratory safe space. Truth.
Always be there.
Oh, Sabella's life was kicked out, moved across the other side of the world. Best thing they ever did, and somehow made their parents accepting and made them closer.
That's very similar. I ran away actually when I came out because I was so afraid of disappointing my family. I just ran away for a while. And now, I think my parents might love Peter more than me, just a little bit. But they are our staunchest allies. And like I was saying, they just didn't know. But that relationship grew stronger, and they did the work. They really did the work and had to ask the hard questions. And so I'm sorry that was your experience in the first place, but I'm so glad that you were able to come home and be reunited with your family.
And that love and forgiveness is so important. And also it's a good reminder too, that sometimes that love and forgiveness doesn't happen, and that's also okay. That for LGBTQ plus people who've been traumatized by being let go, by not being affirmed, that if that forgiveness can't happen on your side, parents and families have their journey, and they'll take that journey
Yeah.
And, you know, we always hope it leads to some kind of reconciliation, but that might not happen. And that's, again, that found family, that chosen family really comes in, and that's, you know, everyone's journey is specific and unique to them. And, you know, we honor that too, and make space for every outcome.
That's so right. And it's so important when we draw that boundary, right? We can wait with an open heart and open arms, and we can be patient, and we can try to ask the right questions or give the right materials, or, you know, direct people towards organizations like PFLAG. But if that person absolutely refuses to accept you as an equal human being, that is not the definition of family.
That's amen. Well, Chasten, I really cannot thank you enough for joining us here live tonight. You have been an incredible influence and role model and advocate. Your students are clearly so lucky to have you, and so are we. So thank you so much.
Oh, you got it. Thank you so much for doing all of your work. And I'm going to get back to catching the zazz.
Yeah, jazz hands for the rest of the night. Zazz hands, I should say.
Jazz hands. I love it. Have a good night.
Thank you, too. We'll keep those questions and comments coming. We love hearing your thoughts about the prom. And now we are going to welcome back Joellen Pellman. Oh,
hey.
I will take both, please.
I'm prepared.
Excellent. How great is Chasten Buttigieg? Can we just take a second for that?
Oh gosh,
Yes.
listening to him speak, I'm like, wow, okay, I want to join one of his drama classes one day.
Yes.
Like, oh, he's so good.
Well, and such a wealth of knowledge and the way that he presents perspectives, you know, like he's so accessible. I really appreciated his insight and his life experience. I didn't know that he had run away. Like that was such an interesting.
I love every day is a learning day with PFLAG. That for sure. So now we have another question, again, not from me, because everybody else seems to have better questions than I do. So we're going to take a question now for Joellen from Veronica, a PFLAGger in Indiana.
Sure.
As someone new to film acting, what's the most personally fulfilling thing that you learned during the production of The Prom?
Oh, that is such a good question. Also, hi, Indiana. I'm home in Cincinnati, Ohio right now, so I'm right next door. I think the most personally fulfilling, part about, performing in The Prom is really watching my fellow actors do what they do best and just being truly like a sponge. I tried to approach every single day on set as like, this is a learning experience. This is like the best, class I'm ever going to take. And just really trying to observe like how they interact with the material. And like one thing I learned from Meryl is like, she never does the same thing twice. She's always finding a new way to make each take fresh or bring out a different side in the character. And she just explores everything that the character can be. And I'm like, okay, I strive to incorporate that in my work. And then with, Nicole is just fearless. Like she puts 110% into everything she does, whether that's, sticking her hand in a carton of ice cream and eating ice cream off her finger. Like she just does everything with all of her being. And it's so remarkable to be around.
I love that. What a masterclass. I love that.
It really was.
Day one. Oh, hello, Meryl Streep. Hello, Nicole Kidman. I can't imagine. And you just handled it with such finesse. Your performance is beautiful. So,
thank you.
Well done. Yeah,
Thank you.
You're right there with them. So, thank you so much for taking that question. And we will. Wondering if we have a question for Joellen, and we had Ariana, but do we have any questions on social for Joellen, or more love, perhaps? There we go. A question for Joellen. So. Well, I love this.
That is very sweet, Kyle. But I'm just focused on right now. And I mean, it would be incredible, but I'm just trying to figure out what I'm gonna get Meryl for Christmas first. Then I'll work on that.
Okay. I love that. That is a really good thing to focus on. That is not something I'm focused on, but now you've got my wheels turning. We're loving your questions, everybody. Keep them coming. Oh, there we got another one. One more. How was your audition for Emma Nolan? I read a great piece. Y'all should read it. I think it was in the New York Times today that talked a little bit about.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about.
Yeah, for sure. So, I first even heard about the Prom when I was in my musical theater history class at the University of Michigan. And we always talk about the journey of a Broadway show and how it usually starts in an out-of-town tryout or a regional theater. And we were talking about this show called The Prom. And it was just having its out-of-town tryout at the Alliance Theater in Georgia. And I just loved the sound of the show. I didn't hardly know anything about it then, but it just sounded, I filed that away and I was like, okay, I want to see this one day. And then in the spring of 2019, my mom and I saw it on Broadway, and it like we had heard just the best things, and it had themes that really like resonated with us. Me being queer and my mom is gay. We're from the Midwest and we love musicals, and we just loved it on Broadway. The performances were spectacular. Like the show is just so brilliant. And then that summer, the summer of 2019, I got an audition for the role of Emma, which was just like, oh my, I can't even believe that I'm, getting the opportunity to do this. And, I go in and do my thing, and I didn't hear back for about a month. And that's when our amazing casting director, Alexa Fogel, she really sort of like championed me behind the scenes, because I guess she saw potential there, and she showed my tape to Ryan. And then it was about a month later that I found out that there was going to be a callback. And then the night before the callback, I found out that I was the only person reading for Emma. But at that point, I still didn't know who the actress was going to be reading for, Alyssa Green. So I walk into the audition room like the next day, and I see Ariana's name on the sign-in sheet, and I'm just floored, because she's someone who I've looked up to for, it feels like, my whole career, like ever since I saw her in the 2013 Tony performance for Bring It On. Like she's just an icon. And here we were like in the waiting room making small talk and getting to know each other. And, it was just that sense that we really wanted the other person to succeed. Like we were there for a reason, and we were going to support each other no matter what. And it went really well. And it was, our first time meeting Ryan. And at the end, Ryan gave us a hug, which is like a Ryan Murphy hug. It was the best hug in the world. And then the next day, I got the call while I was in a thrift store in Bushwick, Brooklyn.
I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you. And we will be back with you in a bit.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Like all of us, Emma needed allies and people she could rely on, who'd be by her side and amplify her voice. And she finds one in the school principal, Mr. Hawkins, played by the incomparable Keegan-Michael Key. Let's take a look.
I think my wife is probably my biggest ally, because I think you're probably expecting me to say something about when I was a teenager. Well, that's what in my mind I was like, oh, wait a minute, no, I have an ally. I feel like recently in my life, when I had dreams that had been kind of dormant, my wife just asked me a question about, it was after Key and Peele had finished, about what would you like to do in your life next? And I'm like, God, I hadn't even given any thought. Whatever somebody's going to offer me is what I'll do next. And then she said, well, if you could do anything you wanted and there was no story about why you couldn't do it, what would you do? And so then I said, well, I want to do Shakespeare and I want to be Jason Bourne. And then within a year, I worked with Doug Liman, who directed The Bourne Identity, and was with Oscar Isaacs playing Horatio in Oscar Isaacs' Hamlet at the Public Theater. So it was about manifesting those things when you allow your heart, don't shutter your heart, and she was my ally in this, and she helped me every single step of the way. And that's at 49 years of age. so you have to just find those people But these wonderful islands in our life. You just got to move from one island to the next island.
Thanks, Keegan Michael. It is really important to have allies in our families, chosen and otherwise. Community is critical for young people, and sadly, the theater community has been shut down for 10 months, and that touchstone has been sorely missed. Let's hear a message for the kids missing that theater community and who might need some words of encouragement now more than ever.
I always encourage young people to keep finding solace and keep finding their inspiration in the music. You know, if you can't see the live theater, you can listen to the music. Music is healing no matter what form that it takes. So that's what I'm holding on to right now. And the fact that The Prom is coming out for the holidays and it's an adaptation of a Broadway musical, this is the way that we can get our Broadway fix and still like love our people and celebrate each other. It's just such a wonderful thing that I think this movie is coming out right now.
Ariana, I love what you had to say to the kids. Hello. I loved what you had to say about kids who will be watching. And it's kind of amazing. This movie's literally been 24 hours and it's already having such a huge impact.
Yeah, I'm so excited and so thrilled by the response to the film. I'm sure Joellen is having this experience, but I've received so many messages from young people talking about how they feel affirmed by the film, or they feel inspired to take the next step in their journey of identity. And that is just priceless. It really is, to know that we've had even a small effect on a young person's life. And I really do zero in on young people, because I do think that our film is actually very healing for many adults, especially adults who identify as LGBTQ. There's so many opportunities to heal within it. But I have a soft spot for the young folks because they're my people. I mean, they're all my people, but you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a question for you from a PFLAGger in Indiana named Ani. Let's hear Ani's question.
Ariana, as a queer Afro-Latina actress, how do you see LGBTQ Latinx people moving from portrayals in fiction to being accepted as part of the general fabric of society in real life? Thank you.
Oh, that's such a great question, Ani. Thank you. I think our stories, a story like my own as an Afro-Latina who identifies as queer, right? I think the fact that I was given this opportunity to tell this story by our incredible leader, Ryan Murphy, and our casting director, Alexa Fogel, like amazing, that the fact that they chose to go down this route, I think, is a step in the right direction of normalizing our stories and also making more room in the entertainment industry for our stories to be told. I look at representation quite a lot. It's something I talk about frequently because it matters. And I do believe we've done a really good job of normalizing the coming out stories of our young people for specific cultural groups, right? But I will say, I think you don't necessarily hear of the coming out stories of Black and Brown young girls or Latinx young girls in this way.
Yeah.
I'm excited by this film. I'm excited by the choices that were made. I don't know if I can speak to the entertainment industry at large. I'm still very, very new, but I think we're moving in the right direction. And also, culturally speaking, a film like this and a casting like mine, I think, opens up the door for some larger conversations to be had within our communities. And that's really, really important, because I think we all have much healing to do. And if we can start within our communities and find ways to accept each other within our communities, both around LGBTQ rights, but also just in general, I feel like we need to, or we can start to address the spectrum grace of it all in a way, within our smaller communities. So that makes me very excited.
It's really true. And I mean, I would love to take a look at a clip. We have a clip with you and Kerry Washington, together you take a journey. And I love how they center this story, of, within, inclusion of communities of color within this storyline. Like, I just love that. Let's take a look at this clip.
Alyssa, you look so beautiful. You should always wear your hair like this.
Mom?
Yeah.
I just want you to know what's gonna happen tonight.
No, can we not spoil this, please? I have worked so hard for tonight. I have a right to enjoy it too. You are gonna have a wonderful prom like a normal girl. I've made sure of that.
What is that supposed to mean?
Well, we know what that means. I know.
Gets me every time.
I know. Well, hopefully you can answer through tears. So,
yes.
Question for you here from Vinny, how you and Joellen built your amazing on-screen chemistry. I echo that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that so much. But I will say it wasn't that hard. I was given the greatest partner at both in friendship and life and in work. Like, she's the greatest scene partner ever. And all I did was look at her face and say the words. Like, I don't know how you look at Joellen Pellman and not totally fall in love with her. So it was not a struggle.
And I think we have one more question. What was it like working with Carrie? Did she give you any advice, and was she a source of motivation? That's a great question.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. She was a treasure trove of information. Kerry Washington is one of the most supportive, empowering humans I've ever met. And specifically, being a newcomer to this facet of the entertainment industry, she was there for me 100% of the way. Just encouraging me to speak my mind, to ask questions, to advocate for my character, and to speak from my lived experience. And that's what part of what makes Kerry Washington so great. We had so many conversations about the differences in our lived experiences, because while we're both Black women, she is a straight Black woman who had a very different prom experience than what I had, right? As a queer, well, at the time, questioning teen, my prom experience, she hadn't even thought about what it might be like from that perspective. And it was so wonderful to see someone with such status and someone who has gained this type of success in our industry say, you know what, I missed that, and let's talk about it. And she made the space and amplified it. She amplifies things I say, which I don't know. I'm still surprised to be amplified. It's awesome. It's awesome to have that support. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love this idea of amplification when you're maybe not expecting it or don't realize how things you say will impact others. But we just had a comment come up a moment ago saying that you helped someone come out, and your voice is reaching people that you might not even know you're reaching.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's terrifying and wonderful at the same time, because I mean, I consider myself an empathetic and a compassionate person, and I'm a person who cares about people. I don't think you get into an artistic line of work without truly caring about people. So I'm careful. I try to be very careful about what I put out in the world, because it all matters. And you're right, you don't know who's listening. But that's also why I wanted to make a movie like The Prom, because it does have a happy ending. And while, we can talk about the lived experiences that we all know, and I will say, I'm so proud of the journey the Green family goes on, because you're right, the outcome is not the norm, But what I'm excited by is that this film gives people hope that one day that outcome is the norm. And that's exciting.
Well, thank you. Don't go too far, okay? We have more to talk about. Okay, good. All right, let's hear another message of support for LGBTQ youth who are missing their musical theater connection right now.
I would just say try to, still be as involved as possible and still continue to work on your craft and find things that bring you joy. And if there are ways to perform, try to find those. But I know it's really tricky. And I think that in New York right now, a lot of my friends who were in Broadway shows and, we're all experiencing the sort of loss of live theater right now. And I think a lot of people are getting very creative about the way that they are presenting things. I've been a part of a few sort of online concerts and things like that. So if there are ways that you can stay involved, I would say do that. But it's not gone away. It's coming back. So stick with us, kids.
And that, of course, was Andrew Rannells, who plays Trent Oliver, one of the 4 musical theater actors who take up for Emma's cause. Now, in real life, Andrew is a Grammy Award-winning musical theater actor with a wonderfully supportive PFLAG mom, and they are both here with us. Welcome, Andrew and Charlotte. It is so great to have you guys here together.
Thanks for having us, Liz.
Hi, Charlotte. So, of course, Andrew, you're here for the prom, and but Andrew, your mom, Charlotte, you have a PFLAG connection. I think as a board member now with PFLAG, Charlotte.
I'm not a board member now. I'm a member, but I was a board member previously. So
amazing. Well, it is great to have the two of you here together. So, in the prom, Emma, the lesbian teen at the heart of the film, comes out to her parents. They reject her, and she lives with her grandmother now. Andrew, I'll start with you. So I reread your memoir, Too Much Is Not Enough, last night. Holiday stocking stuffer, folks. It's super good. So in that story, you share that you came out 3 days before leaving Omaha to go to New York, and that your mom supported you right away. What did that support mean to you?
Well, I think, coming out even under the sort of the best of circumstances, and I certainly had, a very supportive family, and I didn't anticipate that there was going to be an issue, but saying the words is hard. It's scary. And I think that, even, as I said, like I was surrounded by people that I knew loved me and cared for me, but I was nervous. So I timed it in a way that I thought if there were to be an issue, if there was going to be a problem, that I was going to leave town. But I didn't expect that there was going to be, I didn't anticipate that, and luckily there wasn't an issue. There was no, I don't think, and Charlotte, you can talk more about this, but I wanted to be, my first job I ever wanted was to be a solid gold dancer. So I don't think my parents were surprised.
So Charlotte, from your perspective, of course, you weren't a part of PFLAG yet. And sometimes when a kid comes out, parents struggle, but sounds like you didn't. So what was that experience like on your side as someone who just instinctively loved and affirmed her gay kid?
Well, it wasn't a surprise, needless to say. But it was a confirmation of what I already suspected. And it was not a problem for me. I mean, he's my son. He's wonderful. The scary part was that he was going to be leaving. And that was the thing that grabbed my heart the most, was that he would be leaving town, and I didn't know how other people would treat him. And I wouldn't know what was happening, but I didn't know what was happening in Omaha anyway. I didn't know how people treated him. I just saw what I thought was sort of normal, but you don't know all the details of a person's life. I didn't know everything that he was going through.
I think that was the hard part about writing that book, was sharing some of those details and knowing that, my family was now going to know sort of more intimate details about sort of what that process was like. Most people don't talk to their parents about their sex lives. So to then to share some of that information was, I knew that was going to be a little tricky.
So then, Charlotte, you were affirming right away. So what made you get involved with PFLAG Omaha?
Well, it took me, I didn't join PFLAG for many years. I mean, it was, I believe, 9 years ago that I joined PFLAG. And so Andrew had been gone for a long time, but I didn't have a problem with it. I wasn't upset. LGBT people were, I was fine with it. But then I came to the realization, I worked for, or volunteered at a place called Nebraska AIDS Project. And through that, I got to see the pain that people were really going through. And I decided I needed to do a little more. In spite of the fact that I was fine with it, I knew there were other people out there who were living with a different situation. And once I got into PFLAG and I heard the stories that a lot of legal kind of issues that people have to go through, and people coming out at a later time, and then the young people that I talked to too, I felt very badly for them. And that's why I like this movie, The Prom, so much. I wish that was more available for children to come out in high school and to say who they are.
Yes.
And, I mean, if you have that time when a child is still at home and they are coming out and telling you their worries, their problems, and all of that, and it just seems like you could kind of at least be supportive or compassionate to their hurts and everything before they go out to go to college or go into the world or things like that. But there needs to be earlier acceptance of it.
I think that the sort of crux of this film is that, while coming out is very scary, there is a support system in the world. Maybe it seems a little out of reach. Maybe you can't see them immediately, but I think that the characters that James and Meryl and Nicole and I play are a version of the support system for Emma, that we're out there and she doesn't know us necessarily. She doesn't know that we're there, but we do. I mean, our motives aside, like, we do show up and show her that there's a whole world of people that are ready to support you and love you and care for you. And even if you can't see it immediately, there are those people out there.
My greatest fear when Andrew was in New York was when the Matthew Shepard story came out. Yeah. And so then that added to the worry.
Yeah.
So that if you can put things in perspective, you tell the parents it's going to be okay. They need your love and support. They need to be able to come to you and tell you their worries, their fears, and the things that are happening to them.
I think this movie really celebrates that, right? It really celebrates that straight, cisgender, LGBTQ, biracial, whatever your particular identity is, should not get in the way of celebrating everything that you have to offer in the world. I think it's such a great celebration of that. And I really, I appreciate you both so much for being here today. I'm so grateful to have both of you together, especially. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having us. And I'm,
people hope, the young people, the hope that they need that is out there. So yeah. I think it's a very hopeful movie. It's very inspiring, and I wish everybody could watch it. So that's my.
They will.
Spoken like my mother.
Sorry, I spoke over you.
Oh, thank you, Andrew and Charlotte. Andrew, I know she's your mom, but she's not wrong about the movie. And honestly, I think since we started talking, I think there are now literally like 1,000 new Charlotte Rannells Stan accounts on like Twitter and Facebook. I think Facebook has gone bananas for Charlotte, and I understand why. So the only thing better than one PFLAGger is two PFLAGgers, and they are the people who are out there making it okay to be gay in Indiana and in Nebraska and all across the country. So I'd love to welcome the Vice President of PFLAG Omaha, that's Charlotte's chapter, Mariano Uberti, and the President of PFLAG Indianapolis, who, fun fact, went to the same high school as Ryan Murphy, Jan Nichols. Welcome to you both. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. So Jan, we'll start with you. You're in Indianapolis, and of course the prom takes place in Indiana, and I'd love to hear your PFLAG story and about how PFLAG is making a difference where you are.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you my PFLAG story. That the reason I got involved in PFLAG was because of my youngest son's story. I'm a retired special education teacher, and I taught 20 years in parochial school. And when my son was in parochial grade school, I was teaching at his school, and somebody painted on the playground equipment, "Blair is a sissy," and that's my son. And so he and a little girl from his class, they were in 5th grade, went to the principal and said, "Would you please paint over that?" And the principal said, "If you want it painted over, do it yourself." So they didn't know what to do. They were 10 years old. So I went to the principal and I said to her, "I don't understand why you're going to let this stay on the playground equipment." And she said, "Because some people think there might be truth in it." And I said, "You mean if my son is gay, it's okay?" And she just shrugged her shoulders, and I went back to my classroom and cried. So fast forward to high school and still parochial school. And when he is a 2nd semester senior, he's top of his class, #1 in his class, took more AP classes than any other kid had ever taken at his school. And then he came out about 6 weeks into his 2nd semester of senior year. And it got around school pretty quickly. And the principal, so many overlapping stories I'm hearing tonight. The principal went to the drama coach because my son was in all the musicals and dramas, and he was very close to the drama teacher.
That's
your
theme.
Yeah, and said, "If we let Blair be valedictorian, will he say something about being gay in the speech?" And she said, "No, of course not." He said, "Well, we can't take that chance." So even though I was in the faculty, I had no idea what they were doing, but I kept hearing them say, "We need to make sure the grades are correct. We need to make sure the grades are correct." So pretty soon he was informed that he was 33/100ths of a point behind the first person that now was the #1 person in the class. So he was no longer valedictorian. So my heart was broken, his heart was broken, and he went off to college and things went better for him. But I really needed somebody to talk to. My family was accepting, but I needed some other moms who'd gone through that. And that's how I got into PFLAG.
That's
PFLAG
awesome.
is a fantastic support for parents who are going through this. And then I got involved in PFLAG. And as you know, in Indiana, we've had quite a few issues. Several years ago, we had the marriage amendment that we rallied against and wrote, letters and postcards. And I took my breaks at school to make phone calls to the legislature, and we got that thing tabled.
Get the work done. Absolutely. There's no question. I want to make sure we get to hear from Mariano as well.
So it was, the other thing I just want to say real quick that I love that PFLAG does is going out and speaking to different groups. And we've gone out and spoken to so many diversity groups at their diversity luncheon in Indiana, and really shared information with people here that didn't know a lot of stuff. And now I think that it has helped a lot to get that word out.
I really appreciate all that you do so much. And Mariano, so you're in Omaha, and you have a different experience as an immigrant and a Latinx gay man in Omaha. How is PFLAG making a difference for your community, and how did you get involved?
Well, I have a really good childhood in Argentina, but by the moment I got to college, I just realized that basically I've been in love with this guy for a long time, and I didn't know what to do with it. I kind of grew up in the Midwest of Argentina, so basically I freaked out, and I knew all that it was at stake for that. And I just decided that I was going to take it as a secret and keep with that. So things didn't go well that way. By the time I was finishing college, I went in a very, very dark space, and I never told that to anyone. So I decided that I needed to have an experience abroad and go and do something with it. So I landed in Omaha, Nebraska in the year 2020, in the year 2000. And I was fortunate to have a PFLAG chapter here. In the moment that I went to a PFLAG chapter, to some of the meetings, basically that kind of changed my life for the better, because I had examples there that basically really changed my mind and my heart. And I got involved, and I've been, with PFLAG since then. Right now, I am the vice president of the chapter, and we are basically working very hard to make our chapter more inclusive of LGBTQ, Latinx at this moment, thanks to grant from PFLAG National and the Omaha Community Foundation. And basically what we are doing is basically just trying to bring to this population culturally and linguistically appropriate services for them, working with organizations and with businesses. So basically we can meet them where they are. About 15% of the population here in Omaha are Latinx right now, is the first minority. Not a lot of people know that. And
I'm a little surprised, yes.
80% of them speak Spanish at home. So culturally, linguistically appropriate services, PFLAG services are what we need in order to have a biggest engagement of that community. And also what we learned with this, we hope that our model is a 2-year strategic plan we can share with other chapters in the nation, and they can use it to see whether, if we are successful. And also what we learned, we would like to also use it to reach out to other communities, other minorities in the near future also here. So that's what I would like to share. I know we have very little time, but that's pretty much my story.
No, I appreciate it. And thank you both so much for all the work that you do for your local communities. And then, the way the domino effect impacts other communities across the country. Thank you both so much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Now let's hear again from the Prom's Kerry Washington.
It is hard, to know that you're not alone, that so many of us are missing our communities, and to try to leverage the technology we have to create that community. There's so many examples of people doing readings on Zoom together, and I know it's not perfect. It's not like being in that theater together, but you can get together with your friends, and this is a time when you can explore new material. You can try to do readings of new plays out loud that you've never done before. You can, use the time to connect in different ways with the technology we have.
So we are back with Ariana and Joellen, and I have a question for you, which is, I learned that you two started something called the Unruly Hearts Initiative, and I really want to make sure that you get a chance to talk about it tonight while we have people listening, because it's so important, and I love that you've done this.
Yeah. Do you want to do it, Joe? Or?
Sure. Or if you want to, I'm happy to talk about it. Yeah. So we started, Ariana and I started the Unruly Hearts Initiative as a way to bridge our amazing young fan base to these wonderful organizations that are doing work advocating for the LGBTQ plus community. And we hope that anyone who feels called to action after watching the prom, whether it is to seek help or whether they feel they can give help, that they can, use the Unruly Hearts Initiative to find all of these resources. And we also have some amazing fundraising opportunities coming up where we can raise money for these organizations. And it's just a way that we can use our wonderful, this platform that we've been given with the prom and Netflix as a way to amplify the work that these organizations are already doing. And you can go to www.unrulyheartsinitiative.com to learn more. We're so excited to be building this.
Yeah, it's really exciting. We will have, programming and content coming at you for 2021, and we'll have some fun new announcements coming up in the next week or so. So make sure you go check out that website. And, we love you. Welcome to the Unruly Hearts Club of it all. and you are not alone. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. I know I sprung that one on you, but it's so important. And you work with great organizations that we partner with, like Trevor Project and Point Foundation, and just youth focused organizations, queer youth serving organizations, and it's so important. So I didn't want to we're almost done with this show, and I didn't want it to go by without making sure you got to talk about it. So
thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, you bet. So we're about to end this broadcast, I said, but I don't think we can do that without giving it a little zazz. So, Joellen, we're going to take a look at you and Nicole Kidman doing just that.
Yes, thank you.
Before you lecture me or kick me to death with those crazy antelope legs of yours, or whatever you're gonna do, I know I should do something. I just can't.
You gotta do this. You gotta do it for all of us people that are standing in the wings waiting to go on.
I'm too scared.
Let me tell you a story. It's 1975, and the original company of Chicago is in previews, and the worst flu in history hits the cast. They're down to the 3rd cover for the role of Roxy Hart, and she's scared, just like you are.
And Fosse, who is a real ball buster, is putting her through her paces.
But she's petrified. Worst of all, she's doing the routine like she's a robot.
So the Fosse, he says, hey, kid, snap out of it. You got the steps, you got the notes, but where's the sass, baby? And even though she'd never heard that word before, she knew immediately what it meant. And she went out there and she found that spotlight and she crushed that performance so hard. She had that whole audience standing on their feet, screaming bloody murder.
And that girl was you.
What? How old do you think I am? It was 1975. No! The point is,
Every Fosse girl knows that story. It's all about finding your light.
When a challenge lies ahead and you are filled with dread and worry, give it some zazz. If your courage disappears, what'll get your fears to scurry? Give it some zazz. Zazz is style plus confidence. It may seem corny or kid, but when scared or on the fence, you'll find that zazz will soon make fear become your bitch. And if folks say you can't win, what'll stop them in a hurry? Give it some zazz. There's no contest for a girl who has some razzmatazz. So call that bluff and strut your stuff like no chick in this hick town has. Instead of giving up, oh, give it some zazz.
I just don't think I can do it. The thought of getting up in front of all of those people, look at my hands, they're shaking.
If your hands are shaking,
Just turn them into jazz hands.
doesn't that feel better?
No.
Try this.
This is awkward.
You don't understand the concept of zazz. The zazz is not the moves. The zazz comes from within. Do the moves and give it some zazz. Close your eyes. Think about Mrs. Green. Think about that fake prom. Now think of finally doing something about it. Oh, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing your zazz. Now follow me. You like that brave and bossy dude, and if they tear you apart, Ask what would Bob Fosse do? He'd make the people have a step all change of heart.
with some zazz. Now that you've found your zazz, it's time to show it to the world. You think you know how? Yeah!
I love it.
It never gets
So good.
old.
Nope, not ever.
I have to imagine. I think I've seen that number like 17 times now, and my smile never gets smaller. So we've got our final question tonight, but it's not from me. It is from Keith, a PFLAGger in the Midwest. Here's Keith.
How does it feel to know this joyful and queer story is going to be viewed by so many families this holiday season?
It's a good one. Feel good.
I mean, it feels incredible to know we made such a beautiful celebratory thing. It's literally a sparkle explosion that makes you feel good, that does promote acceptance and does start conversation, and it's everything. You know, Netflix, I really got to throw it to them for a second because, you know, they have 167 million subscribers. And a story like this, they gave the green light for a story surrounding two lesbians. Like, we are romantic leads in a film that has the possibility of being viewed by 167 million people. So that's 167 million hearts and minds that could be changed by this film. That's exciting, and that is worth all the holiday cheer and Oreo balls or cookies, whatever you like to eat. So yes, honey, all of it.
I love the sound of this. The Oreo balls. I need to hear more about these.
They're really good. My Nana makes them. I'll send you a recipe.
Yeah, speaking of Nanas, yeah, I am just so excited for families to be able to watch this film together. Just last night, I watched the film with my Mima, my grandma, and my mom. And afterwards, I mean, we had conversations that I never even dreamed that we would have. And you know, it makes me feel, we were talking about, you know, the world was once, you know, a place where, you know, the people like Mrs. Green were the norm, that mindset was the norm. But, you know, my Mima even said, the world is a different place now. And I hope that families can have that conversation, because I mean, I can't tell you how much it meant to be able to talk about that with my Mima. Shout out to Mima out there if you're watching. Love you, Mima.
Love you, Mima.
And I mean, I'm just so profoundly grateful to be a small part of this. But the real joy is in the message.
Yeah,
I love that. And like you said, I mean, can you imagine even just a few years ago, a big budget Hollywood musical centered around a lesbian love story of two teenagers? Like, I mean, it just shows you how the narrative and the conversations are changing. So thank you both for being here, for being a part of this, and for, of course, all of your beautiful, beautiful work in this movie. Thank you for celebrating it and everything it represents with us.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you, PFLAG. Thank you.
This is amazing. And Chasten.
And Chasten. Oh yeah.
Chasten, thank you for sharing, like, everyone who came together for this. Thank you for your work, Liz. Like, thank you.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you so
the
much.
best job in the world. Best job in the world. So thank you both again for being here. I want to, of course, thank Joellen Pellman. I want to thank Ariana DeBose, Chasten Buttigieg, Andrew Rannells and his PFLAG mom, Charlotte, Keegan Michael Key, Kerry Washington, Mariano, and Jan, and all of our PFLAG families for joining us tonight. Have a great night, everyone. Don't forget to enjoy the prom on Netflix with your families, chosen or otherwise, this holiday season. Thank you and good night.